allow me to introduce you to the array lists in Java. Basically, they are an analog of lists in Python, and you may iterate through them, and you may store multiple values, a sequence of values basically. And this is a way to declare a variable and assign a new array list to it. So we're declaring that we are going to have a variable, myList, which is array list of strings. So every element will be a string. We will talk more about this pattern. This is called generic, and later in the sequence. But for now, array list of strings, name of the list, new, to create a new instance of array list string. And over here, you don't have to say again that it's an array list of string. You can just say array list. And that is basically the syntax to create a variable. And every class has methods. In our case, we'll use add to add an element to a list, to the end of the list, or get, so return the element by index. Let's do an example here. So I'm creating a basic array list. Array list E of string, and the name will be LST. So new array list. That's good enough. We don't have to say again that it is a string. And let me add a couple of things to it. So lst.add, and you see in the prompt that it now allows you to add on the strings because you declared it as an array list of strings. So what do I want to add? Some names, I guess. Alex. lst.add Bob. And so on. We can add more, but I would rather have a method for printing. So first of all, let's see what the default method for printing does. LST. And next, let's iterate more explicitly through the LST, through our array list. So for x, string x, I'm declaring a variable x, which is a string, in LST, and we're just doing a printing statement here, x. So this is a way to print values on the list, and this is a way to iterate through all values and print. So this is the default printing when you call print on the entire list. As you can imagine, if the list is very long, this kind of printing may be less convenient. And here we are printing one by one. In any case, the valuable part of it is that using this for loop with abbreviated notation, iterating through each element on the list, we can do things to this, to each element on the list. And finally, for int I equals to 0, I less than lst dot size, the size of the array list, and I plus plus. So this is explicit for loop that will create index I, which runs through the possible values corresponding to the length of the list. We will do printing statement lst.get I. So we are going to print the same values of the list using an explicit notation. First question, when is this explicit notation iterating using indexing rather than directly through each element is useful? And of course, that is because maybe you don't want to iterate through every element in the list. Maybe you want to iterate for some reason only through half of the elements, and you could specify it here. So this is definitely an option, not the most concise way to iterate through all elements, but much more flexible. Okay. And another way how we can explicitly create an iterator from the list. So lst, I'm going to declare iterator of strings. String that will be lst dot iterator. So we will create a specific iterator, and I'm going to call it lst iter. And now we can use this iterator in the way we use iterators. While is one of the ways we use iterators to iterate through them, while lst iter dot has next in parentheses that will return true or false, true as long as there is a next. Well, do something to the next. In our case, just print. lst iter dot get next dot next. All right, let's make sure that our last way of iterating through the array list does the same thing. Okay, and it does. All right, so besides add and get, there are plenty of other methods for array lists, and you might want to be able to find them and use them. So go to Java array lists, array list, and we are going to the original documentations, like notice implemented interfaces. For example, serializable means serializing as in pickle in Python. So you are allowed to serialize a list. So pickle, basically pickle a list like we did in Python. And let's look at the methods. Add method. Notice that the methods are overloaded. So add can take just an element of the corresponding instance of the corresponding class. In our case, it was a string so far. Sorry. Add can also take an integer, where to put it and what to put. And there are other methods. There is a way to add a collection of elements. It's going to be a little bit before we talk about collections. It's going to be the end of the next class when we do. And various useful methods like remove. You can remove object at index, and you can also remove the object directly, so it will be removing the first occurrence of the element from the list. All right.